freaking bad. WrestleMania.
Welcome, everybody, to Juice Pro Wrestling. Episode 102. I forgot what we're calling it. With me this evening is Bodi. I'm not as slick-tongued or I'm not as good as Justin at this stuff. I'm filling in because good news, Justin just had a newborn baby boy. He was born with the internet magics 2 nights ago. So healthy baby.
Yep.
We look forward to having Justin back. And in the meantime, Bodi and I are going to be filling in with a very casual getting to know us episode. Yeah, that's it, man. So how you doing, Bodi? First thing.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Little audio issues right before we started. I was telling you how I got incredibly fired up. So mad. I get so mad.
You're getting hot.
I get so mad. And also, I wish I had a better studio. I'm sitting in my I Love Horses room. So yeah, dude.
You're sitting in one of those pods.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you everybody who's listening. Remember to share. Remember to let everybody know if you like our faces. Tell us you like our faces. That's all I got. I didn't prepare anything better. I'm so used to kind of keeping my mouth shut most of the times, unless I want to interrupt Justin and fuck up the flow of the show. That I'm actually a deer in headlights a little bit right now. But,
oh man,
we'll work through it.
You're good.
Let's do some in the news stuff. I've been popping in and out of wrestling world. I follow a lot of indie wrestlers on Twitter, and they all seem to be, well, half of them are losing their mind, and half of them are fucking thriving right now, like just preparing. Like, what's that movie about the guy that goes to jail for 1,000 years, based on a classic book by Dumas.
I don't know the title off the top of my head.
Everybody's screaming the title right now, but that's how I feel like everybody's just laying in wait. And there's some wrestlers that are just, their muscles are getting bigger and bigger, and they're getting veinier, and then when this shit stops, they're just gonna explode. But we'll go back and forth, dude. What have you been? What kind of news? I know the WWF thing, but you go and like, what kind of shit's going on?
Just AEW's tournament. They got that for the TNT Championship. They got that going on. We saw Cody Rhodes go over Sean Spears last week. Yeah, last week, Dynamite. With the whole thing going on, my weeks are all messed up, man. It's weird. But, that tournament will be cool. They got like a lot of stuff taped too. They went to, funny story about that too, is they have a ton of stuff taped for at least like a month and a half to 2 months.
That's what I heard.
And they were doing it out of QT Marshall's like facility that he has. So all the Dynamites that you've seen in the past like couple weeks and going forward is from his residence or his facility. Huge facility, by the way. But yeah, the funny story is that it's located in Georgia, I believe, somewhere, because some cops in Georgia came in and almost shut it down because they thought they were violating the shelter in place. So they had to go in there and like figure what was going on, and they had to stay there too.
Yeah, I think a child is being murdered behind you.
Yeah, there is.
No, I think it's funny. I think I am suspicious that the cops didn't know what was going on. They were like, "There's wrestling going on. There's like chicks doing flips with butt suits on. Let's go investigate." So, I'm always suspicious, man. But so Dynamite's been pretty good, man. After WrestleMania, which we haven't really talked about because everyone else did, and I feel like it would be just talking about the same stuff everyone else already did. But I mean, if you got 1 minute to talk about it, let's do WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah. I got
one whole minute. That's it. 1 minute.
About Mania?
About Mania. 1 minute.
Right.
That's it. Because everybody's already talked it to death.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
all right. You want me to go?
Yeah. The count's already started.
Oh, man. I was wondering what you're doing. I thought you were counting me down. So, yeah, Mania was weird without the crowd there. Some matches were pretty good, held up on its own. But, I mean, the two that stood out the most, of course, was the Boneyard match, which was amazing cinematic wrestling. And I think that's kind of I wouldn't say the future of wrestling, but I would say that is an untapped potential market to reach into to do matches, and that would give longevity to guys like the Undertaker. You know, guys that are a little bit older, can't move around as fast, but still
Can't let go.
Yeah, they can still hold down the story. They can still tell a story. They can still cut a promo. And personally, I loved the Funhouse match. I loved that. I thought it was amazing.
It made me. I don't like everybody. Like, people knock Cena, and I was never a big John Cena guy. I didn't watch wrestling at that time. I stopped. But it made me kind of respect him a little bit, because in a way it was like addressing all his criticisms over the last like 15, 20 years. Not 20, but as long as he's been at the top of wrestling and addressed all that stuff. I watched it, man. It was fine. Like you said, it was weird. They did the best they could, and you know what? They got people's minds off that thing, off of everything else. You were entertained for 2 hours. The Undertaker thing, just real quick, was so that cinematic stuff. I thought, like, back in like the 2000s and going forward, that they did a lot of that stuff anyways. Like, I remember, help me out. What's the dude that was a cop?
Big Boss Man?
Yeah, Big Boss Man did like a whole thing with the Undertaker, like in a graveyard with his cop car. I don't know. They did. I feel like they've done a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, they've done stuff like that.
In bursts, I think it's fine, but I'm not really crazy about that. It's one of the reasons, like, the stuff outside of the ring that isn't in front of a pro, like in a little room with a promo, Mean Gene Okerlund interview style, that kind of shit. That kind of shit, like, other than any storytelling outside of in-ring or in promo, I kind of get turned off by the rest of it. I think it's one reason why I stopped watching it, because there were so many times they're like in the locker room or somewhere where they'd go long form conversations, and I'd be like, I don't care. I don't care about, you know, So WrestleMania, it was fine, man.
There wasn't it wasn't something that I was like on fire about, man, but it was okay, you know.
It's funny, we've been doing this show now. We're over 100 episodes, and I don't ever think we get so deep with certain topics as to get fired up or angry either way. The way that the internet gets like super heated about everything. Case in point, like, WrestleMania was cool. It was 2 hours, and that was that. Like, yeah, it's not as good as any of the other ones, even the boring ones, I don't think, but it's different. You've been sitting in your house for a month. You've been, there's no other live entertainment, you know, even though it was pre-taped still, whatever. With that being said, do you have a quick opinion about the fact that they're supposed to start taping new episodes, I think next week or the week after? Like,
for WWE? Yeah, with the live stuff?
Yeah.
I think at this point in time they should have taped a bunch of stuff or continue to tape. I'm kind of against the live thing just because at a moment like this, I think people should be, you know, practicing the safe distance, and then be with their families or be themselves or whatever, you know, instead of worrying about making live appearances and stuff like that. That's just my opinion. I just think they can use this time to just take the break, you know. So that's where I'm at with that.
That works. And are you watching any other promotions? You watching any old stuff? Because a
little bit.
I watch. So I understand that everybody wants the newest. Like, give me new shit. But it's crazy because on the network you got the entire catalog of everything in history, and then on IWTV you got all their shit, which is, I mean, you got to live the next 400 years in order to get all the wrestling that they have put out. And you got like wherever you live in the country, just look it up and you get like on the East Coast, they got a couple of the indie promotions that are awesome. And then like Chicago's got Freelance, and you know, it's dude, you can get your fill of this stuff, because I don't know what maniac has watched everything. And if you have, I tip my hat to you fucking maniac, because you have kept up with everything.
Right.
And I get it, dude. Like, I keep trying to push with friends and family, like, they're like, oh my God, I can't, you know, no NBA, no MLB, you know, no Major League Baseball, no anything.
Nothing.
To just watch on TV. And I'm like, dude, you can watch all these old games that are awesome, like old classic NBA games, old classic like World Series games, like tennis, football, all that shit. And they're all like, it's not the same. I get it, it's not the same, but it's still like, you still can watch a ton of stuff. Also, read a book, you jackasses.
Yeah.
But Dynamite still got stuff that they're putting out. Silent hype, like a weird hype thing. You and I are working on something that will whet that appetite and keep you.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it'll quench your thirst a little bit.
Yeah.
We won't talk about it until we got it. Actually, we'll just do it, and it'll be online. Just know that your wrestling appetite will get. It'll be like having a really, really good appetizer before the main course comes, probably in 3 or 4 months, realistically.
Right.
I don't know. But otherwise, any other news shit? I like I said, I've been keeping up.
Oh my God.
Just indie wrestling drama for everybody's mama. That's all I read it and then I'm like,
Right. It's hard to, because it's a lot of, well, unless you're a Warhorse, Breeze Horse, that's amazing shit. But no, a lot of them are just, staying in shape, talking about wrestling, and they're getting cabin fever, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I still follow them and stuff and see what they're doing to work out and keep active and everything.
It's probably hard as shit to go from, like, especially for the indie guys to go, I mean, all the guys, to go from literally traveling like 300 days a year to sitting in a room, picking your nose, and wondering why your fart smells different every day this week.
No, this is the time to step up.
Yeah.
I was going to say, this is the time to step up the promo game, though.
Oh,
Make videos and, work on your promos, your connection.
That's why Warhorse is killing it, dude.
He's killing it. Dude. Yeah. He's ridiculous.
Like, he does those, and I keep assuming they got to be like single take things, and I'm like, single take? I have trouble. Like right now, we just recorded, and I've heard Juice say, "Welcome to Juice Pro Wrestling, everybody," and then he does the intro, and then you tell me to do it, and I'm like, I like you guys.
Yeah. And, see, you just got to be like, "Welcome to Juice Pro Wrestling today. We got Sreten, the Manhandler, with Bruiser Bodi. This is episode 102, Fear No Evil." Yeah. Just throw it out there.
To mention again, the other shit you can watch is, dude, we barely talk about New Japan.
Right.
And dude, you can watch everything they've done over the last handful of years. Online too. And then Impact's still doing stuff. MLW's still doing stuff. They still have I heard that MLW could probably have episodes on with storylines and everything for the next year, and they're good to go. And then Impact is still doing, they're still televising stuff. And I don't know about the Impact roster, whether this is true or not, that they're small enough or they're all in each other's circles that there's potential that they actually can tape and be safe.
Yeah.
Or I might be 100% talking out of my ass, which is probably true.
No, you're close. Yeah, I don't know how some of them are doing it, but I know a lot of them's taping stuff. Yeah. I think some aren't even running. And they're just doing old library and stuff like that. Just doing promos. I like kind of like what Dynamite's doing with their vignettes and stuff like that over their tape. Yeah. And then the Matt Hardy stuff with Jericho. Yeah. And them going into Elite Deletion and stuff. So that'll be the compound. We'll see that soon.
That stuff's been great.
Yeah.
I actually watched Ready to Rumble last night.
Oh my God! I
haven't seen it since it came out. I bought the DVD a year after it came out at Walmart or something for $5.
Yeah.
And I popped it in last night before bed, and I was like, you know what, man? I'll probably last 5 minutes. Fucking 2 hours later, I'm still watching. I'm smiling. I'm watching the special features, which is there's a special features where it's just dudes getting kicked in the balls. And this was that shit came out the DVDs probably just started getting popular, and special features and commentary during the whole movie, which they didn't do, I don't think, but they did have some cool special features. Like I said, the ball shots thing. But to watch that was Goldberg in his height. Sid Vicious was still doing stuff. He's still looking like a monster. I mean, shit, it was 20 years ago. Goldberg still looks great. He looks older, but he's still looks wise, he still looks awesome. I mean,
he's still chiseled. He's still
the same shit, but shit, whatever, man.
Right.
All right, now to the nitty gritty. Who cares about all that stuff. We'll get some new wrestling soon. Everybody be patient. Read some books.
Right.
Watch some old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go through the
I
library.
think you're right, dude. Work on those promos. Everybody's promo game should get like I've been talking about it the last couple of weeks, but one of the people that's been stepping it up is Ethan Page with just content, his YouTube channel, all that stuff. He sees the value of it. He's been like, this is his time to shine because he's just been prepping and just doing work and learning and upgrading all his shit and just getting better and better. And I think during this time, you're also going to see that just how deep his wrestling knowledge goes and what he's actually a fan of. And although the flippy stuff is awesome and I'm a huge fan, nothing beats a badass story.
No, I agree.
Not like, and that's stupid to say. It's super obvious, but like you'll see, man. I think this time, like if this really does last as long as I think it's going to be, before like get-togethers can really go, which at a minimum I'm thinking like 3 or 4 months, but it could go longer. Like reality is this is our world for the next year and little gaps and stuff. But man, if this lasts another 2 months, I think Ethan Page is going to become like one of the shining like storytellers. What he's going to do, and other people are just going to follow suit and be like, I got some awesome ideas too. I'm gonna throw down too. Fuck.
Right. So this is the time, man. This is the time to let your creativity loose.
So let's get to know Bodi a little bit, dude.
Oh man.
And I'll put you on the spot, but I'll let you know about my my wrestling world too. So Justin and I have talked about it before, like how I got into it, my wrestling history, where my fandom comes from, where I was hot and cold. I was, as a little kid, like I'll interrupt you a bunch, but me real quick, I was super into it as a kid. Golden Age, Hogan and Macho Man were the guys. And then when my brother, who's 7 years younger than me, I got 2 brothers, he was born, he got all crazy about Ultimate Warrior, and so did we then. He popped in and we got into it. And same with Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Like
there you go.
He was big into that too. After that, I fell off until WCW and NWO. Like NWO brought me back into it in a big bad way, where I would be wrestling like by then I was 20 years later. I was in college. I had roommates that were into it too. So, man, I remember there were 2 years where people were getting mad because we do matches like in our living room, blow out people's light bulbs because we were on the second floor. We were doing suplexes and shit. And it was 2 different apartments. One apartment was the second floor, but it was low to the ground. So, and we did crazy stuff, jumping out windows, coming around, and sneak attacking each other, drop kicks, headlocks. You be eating cereal, all of a sudden you're in a headlock, you don't know what's going on. But I also, one of my roommates was a legit, like state level, whatever you call it, like wrestler. So one of our things would be, that was my sophomore year. One of our things would be he would we were kind of like, I don't remember the Pink Panther movies from like the 70s, 60s, 70s, where him and Kato would attack each other all the time. Man, me and my buddy, like my roommate, we did that shit almost every day. And I'm 6'2", almost 6'3", and back then, like I'm a big dude, but back then I was heavier, like much heavier. So I'm like this 330-pound guy, and he was 5'4", 5'5", maybe 5'6", but let's say 5'5". Thin but bulky muscle, like wrestler body. And I never could do shit to him. I would attack him every day, or he'd sneak attack me just to scare me. And he scared me every day, every time he tried. He'd be behind the door, under my bed. He'd kick the door in for the shower. Like, you're, college kids, you do dumb shit. And, but that, and then when the Attitude Era, I guess, started, once NWO got a little boring, I was done until I met Justin, and then I popped back into it, and now I'm big into the indie wrestling.
There you go.
And like I'm a huge AEW mark now. But I'll get back to the Glow thing in a little bit. But what about you, man? Like, let's get to know Bodi. Let's get to know you.
Yeah. It all started like you said, Golden Age. I remember watching wrestling with my dad. Saturday night's main event, I think, was one of my first exposures to like wrestling in and of itself. And then my dad also watched some NWA, and I remember the Road Warriors and Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, and You know, I remember them. I was always big on the heels though back then when I was younger. Like I loved Ted DiBiase. I had a wrestling buddy of Ted DiBiase. He was one of my favorites, and you know, I must have been the only kid that would laugh when he would like invite kids into the ring and like, hey, dribble the ball for 10 dribbles and you'll get $100. And then he'd kick it on 9 or something like that. I must have been the only kid laughing my ass off at that.
That's because you were a little asshole.
I was, yes. I was a heel in the making.
Nice.
But yeah, like him, Jake the Snake was one of my favorites.
Oh,
he was heel face, but man, when he talked, I was just zoned in, hanging on his every word. And
he's one of those, I think, whether you were a good kid or a bad kid, Jake the Snake, just like, I remember loving him too, like almost the same like Hogan. Like I just was like, how do I like this guy so much? He's so scary and awesome, and like I never was like scared of him, but I just thought he was so fucking awesome.
He was creepy.
Oh, he was great.
Like
he's still great, man. I don't know how.
Oh yeah, he can still talk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Perfect too was like another
same. Dude, I used to. My favorite thing to do, because like I said, back then I was shit. Let's lie. Let's say I was 12. I don't fucking remember. But I used to perfect plex my little brother. Anybody that was like half my size, I'd get him into the like. We'd be talking, and I'd be like, "What did you say? What do you want to do? We'll finish this argument." Because when I was a kid, I used to like I never fought with kids. We never fought, but we would play really, really damn hard, like punches. Headlocks, all that stuff. So as a kid, there was one time I actually got into a real fight, and it didn't like we're dumb little kids. We weren't throwing punches. We were doing like kind of wrestling moves. Yeah. And I almost didn't feel it because like I was used to getting a headlock by like my friends and my brother, but we had a rule like hit like punt, no ball punches, no face punches, but everything else is good. The second, no balls. The second you got mad and retaliated in an emotional way, that means you lost. You could argue about anything, but if you took a real swing or like poke somebody in the eye or some shit, that means you lost. Even if you were like 100% being a dick, if that other dude reacted emotionally, my brother did that shit all the time. But yeah, perfect plex, dude. I would everybody that I could, I would perfect plex. Yep. Because I hooked that leg.
Yep. Bridge him for the 1, 2, 3. Yeah. There you go.
So who else? So Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, and then going through that era, like golden age into, I kind of call it like the terrible like early '90s Raw, like WWF, because they had like just some terrible gimmicks, But WCW was starting up, coming from NWA, WCCWs. They were, they had Lex Luger, they had who else? They had Sting, Ric Flair, Road Warriors, stuff like that. So it was like kind of offset because on one end you had like fighting, like wrestling, like real-ish fighting, like dudes that just would beat your ass. Yeah. And then over here you had like the gimmick city, like the Goon and Bastion Booger and Duke the Dumpster Drozy. But that all changed. Yeah, that changed when like Undertaker. When I first saw Undertaker, he changed like that changed everything for me. Like I was a huge mark on Undertaker. I think it did that to a lot of people.
I missed Undertaker's entire career. Shout out to one of my, I should say, compadres in Serbian. It's Kumovi, Radonja. He's my godfather's son. So however that translates in English, but he listens and watches the show. And he's 8 or 9 years younger than me. And man, he grew up. The Undertaker was his childhood. Like his wrestling love planted its roots like during the Undertaker era. Well, shit, technically is not over. I mean, it is, but that man is.
I've been there
still around, dude. But I missed that whole thing. But you were a big Undertaker guy.
I was, yep. And I remember him in WCW with Danny Spivey for a little bit when they were the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And, I was a huge Undertaker guy. When that all started and some of the matches he had and like just some of the stuff he would do, like it was just so suspension of disbelief, but at the same time, it was just like jaw dropping. Like, oh my God, did that really happen? How does he disappear out of the caskets and all this other stuff, So like, it's just started getting me going. And then, I went through the whole mid 90s building up to the NWO, WCW taking over and WWE having to change and make some stars and them losing people. And like that time, there's no dirt sheets. Internet was not even off the ground yet. So a lot of this stuff is just really happening. So for example, like when Scott Hall shows up in WCW, here am I, 15, 16 at the time, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, dude, he was just on Raw like 2 weeks ago, last week.
Hair on my balls, and now this?
Yeah, exactly. Voice cracking. I'm starting to sweat. What's going on here, sir?
Is this real?
No. It was great, dude. It was killer because it blurred the lines. Like, what's real? Like, is Raw invading WCW and stuff like that? So I got in that era too, like 96 to 97. I started. I don't know if you remember RF Video, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and there's other wrestling magazines. They always had an ad for RF Video I think it was RF Video, where you could order stuff, and I would be ordering ECW tapes and stuff like that, and then that would come with some things in there oh, do you like this? You can order 5 TV tapings or whatever it was, because in my area I couldn't get that, and I was trying to get a little TV and fix the bunny ears and antenna to try and get an Eastern.
Yeah. Have you always been in your part of Wisconsin?
Yeah. Oh, not
been in that area?
For a majority, yeah. I moved out here when I was about 6 years old. I was born in San Jose, California.
Okay.
So, but yeah. Dude,
bro. Fucking bro.
So yeah, I became a huge ECW fan, reading the magazines and stuff like that. And then, dude, Cactus Jack, pretty much, changed my life almost. Watching him.
He was another dude, man. He was another guy.
Yeah.
I totally missed Undertaker, and then I completely missed Mick Foley.
Oh man,
100% missed his whole. And then the classic match that might be on everybody's number one. There's a lot of people whose number one match is that cage match with the two of them.
Oh, the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
As a whole, if you had to pick one number one, and I missed both of their careers because I wasn't interested in any of that shit.
Right.
I love that coke fueled shit from the golden age, man.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know what to do, where it was ridiculous, but you're a kid watching this go these guys are real. This whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I fell off. And then I think it was because I don't know, something about NWO really got to me. And that's when I kind of watched a lot of the, Ray Phoenix too. Got super into him. And actually, the two guys, the controversial guy, the headbutter, helped me out.
Chris Benoit.
Yeah, Chris Benoit. And then his best friend,
Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero. Thanks, man.
I got you.
In it for 2 years, and I still don't remember anybody's goddamn name.
Man, Benoit was one of my favorites.
I was a huge fan of both of them. I thought they were both they got me into that lucha style, the aerial stuff. And I thought are these guys bringing flippy shit to wrestling? But when you watch classic stuff, they definitely weren't. There were other guys that were doing super athletic things, but it was just as a whole amongst, I think, most of the boys' cultures in these big promotions. It was just frowned upon. Clothesline me and punch me and drop kick me. Don't do a somersault, you dickhead.
Exactly.
So
that stems back. That comes from Dynamite Kid too, with the British Bulldog. He was a high flyer.
Yeah, but a lot of people forget that shit. They think no, there was
Black Tiger. Tiger Mask, and a lot of those guys. And it's funny you bring up Chris Benoit, because putting aside the tragedy that happened that surrounds him, not focusing on that, but as a wrestler, he captivated me. He just how he moved, how real everything was. He was so intense. I'm watching him wrestle Kevin Sullivan, and I'm like, man, this dude's beating the piss out of him, which he kind of was. But I remember watching Clash of the Champions and them going to the bathroom and fighting and stuff like that. And I remember they were in Milwaukee for a Clash of the Champions. I want to say that those two wrestled. I could be getting my matches mixed up, but I remember I was right outside the bathroom when they were fighting and stuff too. And they would take it all over the place, and I loved that. Benoit was just to me, it was dude, that's how I want to be, as an intense as him. And Mick Foley, Cactus Jack came around, and he was in WCW, and of course, after I saw his first two matches, I went and found all his FMW stuff that he did at Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, and all his death matches, and King of Deathmatch in the baseball stadiums in Tokyo with Terry Funk and Leatherface, and all those dudes. That really I got into hardcore deathmatch wrestling, and that's the ECW too, like right around that time.
Yeah, I totally miss ECW. I was
Yeah.
a kind of I think I was a snob. I was like, if it's not polished like WWF back
Right.
then, like if it wasn't that, I was so until NWO, for some reason I associated like dirt and grime and gross and blood, and I wasn't into any of that like bloody shit. But like I
Yeah.
associated that with WCW and Ric Flair. I associated him with it.
Oh yeah.
And so like I did not like Ric Flair. I didn't like Ric Flair until maybe like 10 years ago. I was like, Ric Flair's kind of amazing. Like,
Yeah, he
as
is.
a performer that's been doing the thing for like 50 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back then, and I associated WCW with him, so I was like, I'm not watching this fucking garbage. Yeah, I just thought it was shit. So okay, so once that happened, then what happened?
Well, are you talking about like as far as fandom or like getting into my like wrestling?
Let's go both. Let's go to fandom first.
Okay.
And then we'll backtrack and then talk about the time when you kick dudes in the face.
Yeah, now you're talking. So yeah, fandom wise, like all that's going on, the Monday Night Wars, which was a great time to be a wrestling fan. So not only am I watching my ECW tapes that I'm ordering, but at the same time I'm watching Raw, but I'm recording WCW Nitro. And then after Raw's over, I'm watching Nitro right away. And then, there's later on a little bit down the road, there's SmackDown and Thunder, which isn't even the same, not even the same area code, but no, the Monday Night Wars is like great time to be a wrestling fan. It's funny because like a really good buddy of mine in high school, he would order the WCW pay-per-views. I would order the WWE pay-per-views, and we would go to each other's house that way. So we're not spending a ton of money, but that was great, having friends over to watch pay-per-views and stuff. So yeah, and I remember the day that WWE bought WCW and Shane McMahon showing up at the taping, everything like that. And then I watched for a little bit, for a few years. I don't even know what year it was that I kind of like stopped watching because there's really no competition and it got really watered down. Once WWE bought WCW, ECW, started monopolizing. I was watching TNA, which was awesome. That brought me back to some WCW stuff / ECW. I was watching a lot of that. But yeah, there was a chunk of time until, I was watching off and on. I wasn't watching as regularly as I used to. That was like that weird WWE time where like they didn't really have like a lot of captivating people. It was like the John Cena era after Ruthless Aggression and kind of like around where the PG era started. Eddie Guerrero passed away, Benoit passed away. It was after that. So like I said, there was a chunk like 3 or 4 years where I'd semi-pay attention, but I wouldn't watch it as regularly, and I thought it was really watered down, and I started watching Impact a little bit. That was like until probably like 2009, 2010 is when I started watching WWE again, because in that time too, that's when Impact started kind of going downhill, or TNA, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So yeah, and then I started getting into more indie wrestling like around that time and finding out who dudes were. And I was like, man, these indie dudes like know what's up. Like they're top level guys, maybe not on the top level brand, but you don't need that nowadays,
Right.
So that's where it all comes to me to present day. Like I'm a huge AEW mark now. I love NWA, still love Impact, Freelance, AEW, Warrior, like all these indie promotions, PCW, so.
And you've been at it like through every time the dirt sheets where they used to be order tapes online, buy some magazines and read them, and then that went to like shitty creepy websites with bad JavaScripting and whatever you call it, flash coding.
Yeah, HTML flash.
Yeah, HTML flash coding where you're just like reading stuff and occasionally like a naked lady or a bunch of boners will flash. Weird shit. And then and it probably wherever you can get information to now it's just an overwhelming amount from all sides at all times.
Yeah,
there's competition. Yeah, but it's good and bad because everybody, you can know everything. Some stuff I get irritated but it's with this because it's not with I'll find my point here. It's not just with wrestling. It's with like everything. But you do see a lot of like a news article will come out, something bad happened within wrestling. Is it real? Is it not real? But it's
Right.
something that could kill the careers of some people, and there's
Yeah.
no fact behind it. It's all rumor, and then you just kind of forget about it a few days later. I'm like somebody will be accused of something, which I won't give any examples. Somebody will be accused of something, and then the whole wrestling community fandom will like jumps on that shit, attacks, potentially can ruin that person's career. And I believe some people probably have got, lost their brand value or whatever. And then you just kind of forget about it. Nobody goes, well, nothing happened. Like none of it's true. Nothing. They don't address it. They're like, we just almost burned this dude's house down. We kind of burned half of it down. But whatever. It wasn't us. He still has the other half of his house. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That part I don't like. But the fact that you have access to a lot of these wrestlers, like you can reach out to them and they're cool enough to reach back. People like us can build our show based on interviews because we get access to these guys that are entertaining as fuck. And when I say guys, I mean every sex, all 23 of them. So men, women, unicorns, ostriches, bears, whatever. I don't know. Oh my.
Anybody. Yeah, anybody.
So after that, so we'll end it to current. But you had a little bit of, you did a little dancing.
Yeah, it was pretty steady, and all of a sudden I was like, yeah, it's okay. And then I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Was that at the same time? Because I know people that listen know, but they don't actually know that you have your own band. So can we talk about how long and the time that you wrestled? Also, your band forming or any other bands you were in?
Yeah, it was like the same time. I mean, I've been in bands since I was like 19 anyway. So, but yeah, about 2004-ish, I was, I had a band that was going pretty well. We were doing local shows and stuff like that up until, 2007, 2008, stuff like that. And then that band broke up. And then I started doing Mass Murder Messiah, which was my own project. And then I had my buddy playing bass with me. And then around that time too is when
You do guitar and vocals, right?
Yep. In that band I do drum programming. Well, now it's just me doing everything, but drum programming, vocals, and guitars. And now I do all of it, including bass, so recording and everything. My other band.
Real impressive.
Yeah, real impressive. The other band that's we do a lot of traveling and stuff and playing around is Sexual Atrocities. I'm pretty sure everyone that's listened to the podcast that when I'm on has heard that name pop up a couple times, but that's around the same time I got asked to be the vocalist there, and I've been a vocalist for SA for 10 years now. So, but yeah, around that same time is when my band started doing more stuff. I was playing football for the Racine Raiders too, which is a AAA semi-pro football team. Played them a couple of years, but once music started going and stuff, I was like, yeah, I'm done with football. I'm gonna hang them up. And then I was wrestling at the time too, so it was like, I got to give something up here.
So you didn't, when you wrestled, we'll talk about that in a second. When you wrestle, you didn't wear a mask, but when you sing, at least for Sexual Atrocities, like, or do you do it all the time? Like you wear a luchador mask.
Yeah, for SA, I do.
That shit. Yeah.
I wear the Psychosis mask, and that's just because I always loved his mask, and he was one of my favorite luchadors with Psychosis. Him and La Parca, and of course Mysterio. But all them dudes are like crazy. Like when I first saw him in WCW, like, man, who are these dudes? Juventud Guerrero, and actually Juventud Guerrera, not Guerrero. But yeah, I saw them, and then I saw Psychosis. I was like, oh my god, like his mask and like the moves he does and like how he was. I'm like, God, this dude's insane. I love it. So I found the Psychosis mask. I think I actually found it in like a Hot Topic or something weird, like when they were selling lucha masks. I had like a bunch of lucha masks. I'm like, I want that one. So it's not the one I wear now. I got a new one, but the one that I got then was the one I used to wear. It was blue and it had the black hair and the white. And then I gave it away at one of our shows to someone. He's actually in another band, and I'm glad he has it. So I know it's getting, abused as much as I abused it. The horn was like falling off, stuffing was coming out of it. So, but yeah, that's how that came about. Was just I bought it, I liked it, and then there was one show I wore it and played with it, and then the next like couple I didn't have it on. Like one of our buddies who's also a fan was like, hey, how come you don't wear the mask? And I was like, oh, it was just something for fun. I was like, I'll wear it for you next show. I did it, and then the next show I did it again, and then like I was like, I'm just gonna stick with it, and everyone was like, yeah, we totally should. And then we started amping up our theatrics a little more and like dressing up. So now we're just, the Beer City party grind. So that's where the mask and everything comes in. Just wait till our next show. I'll have like the Young Buck tassels and everything too. So yeah, always doing references on stage too to different stuff.
So people come up to you after the shows and they're like, hey man, I like the thing where you did the thing.
Yeah.
And you're like,
it was funny. The last show that we had at Club G in Milwaukee, I was wearing my Penta shirt, and there was a dude in the front row, and he was going Zero Miedo, and I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, so it was cool. Like, there was a couple people there that knew what was up, so that was awesome.
That's cool. So how did you get into wrestling? How did you start performing?
Oh. Well, let's go back to when I was like 18, 19. Actually, a little bit before that, me and my buddies just have like in the basement of one of their houses watching, Nitro or watching a pay-per-view. We just, get silly and just start wrestling and stuff like that and doing moves and, suplexing on the couch cushions and mattresses and hitting each other with like pans and stuff like that, like the baking sheets to get the loud ping. So, it's just goofing off. Like, I'm sure a lot of people have done. And then, later on, like a couple of my buddies, we started doing backyard stuff, like the hardcore backyard wrestling, like tables, off of ladders, thumbtacks, barbed wire. And that's what I was doing, like I would be the one to mostly go through a lot of that stuff because I was a, crazy one that was a little bit, had a couple of screws loose. So I'm like, hey dude, you should backdrop me off the top of my truck onto your gravel driveway. And they're like, dude, are you dumb? I'm like, no, man, it'd be awesome. We'll record it. It'd be cool. Like, dude, you're an idiot. But dude, I was all about it. I was like, yeah, let me fly off the top of a garage onto grass with nothing breaking my fall. Yeah, that seems like a great idea.
I could never do that.
But yeah, I did that, and that's, I did some of that, and all of a sudden, fast forward, I don't know, a couple years, I'm coaching football. I'm helping my dad coach football with a couple other guys I knew. And so there was a kid that I coached. His name was Jake. I coached him. And then around that same time, I was probably like 20. Yeah, 20, 21. I got linked up with a dude that a buddy of mine was working with, and he was like kind of training to be a wrestler and stuff like that. And I would go and work out with him, and I would just do stuff like in the gym he was at, and just stuff in his backyard. And he had like a kind of like a ring, not really, the ropes sucked. They were just ropes and stuff and tires, but we would go in there and bump. We would do it on a trampoline too, and just do other stuff and just learn basics. And it wasn't like anything spectacular. It was just fun training, right. Just knowing the basics.
Right.
But then, you fast forward to, like I said, my buddy Jake, I want to say he was like 19 or 20. And he was working at a grocery store, and there was a dude he was working with named Jason. And that dude knew a promoter, and he was starting to work with him. So his promoter that dude Jason showed a picture of me and Jake to the promoter, and he was like, man, I need these dudes, So we met the promoter. He told me, hey, let's go meet this promoter real quick. Let's go see what it's all about. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. Let's go for it. So we do, and the guy sees us. He's like, holy shit, like eyes light up. Jake is at this time, he's fresh out of high school, 6 foot, maybe 6'1". I don't know how tall he is, but he's like 340 pounds of muscle. Like, this dude's just solid fridge. And then you got me, I'm a little taller than that. And, at the time I was still working out. So I had, some build on me, but, I just looked menacing, So he was like, you two need to be in a tag team. So we formed up a tag team. We called ourselves Disaster Piece. So, yeah, because he was a huge Slipknot fan, and there was a song called Disaster Piece. So we called ourselves that.
Real cool.
Yep, real cool, man. It's just, so we get invited to come work out and stuff like that. And I told him I had some training and stuff already. And so we go in the ring and do some bumps and run the ropes and stuff. And that was my first time really running ropes, and that shit hurt. because you reach out and grab the rope with one hand, you lean into it, and you bounce, you come back. Man, I had bruises on the sides of my body that lasted like 2 weeks, and then 2 days later, I got to go do it again. Ugh, that shit hurt.
How long before that goes away? I always wondered about that.
It takes a while. Probably for me, it was probably like the 5th or 6th training day that we had. I started not feeling it much anymore. I started getting that callus.
Yeah.
Does
the body stop bruising or bruises less?
It bruises less, and you start, you start getting a feel for it, because I still got the red marks and stuff on it, on my back and my, by my ribs and stuff. But not to prolong a story or anything, but yeah, we started learning moves and stuff, and he figured out I wasn't bullshitting. I was like, yeah, I had some training and knew what I was doing here and there. So he puts us in our first match, and our first match is with against this team, Menace to Society, and it's a hardcore match. We go out there and just beat the holy hell out of each other. We went to Value Village to buy dollar items that we could hit each other with. So yeah, we did that, and that was our first match, and we went over, we won. Within 3 matches, we ended up being tag champs. But that's how all that started. And then he had to move away. Jake moved away. We did a split angle with me and him, and he moved down to Georgia. And then I went singles. And yeah, I just started that's when I went singles is when I would come to the ring. I had a black hood over my face, kind of like a balaclava almost. Yeah, is that how you call it?
You said it right.
Yeah, balaclava. And then I would have this half skull mask over it.
Nice.
And then I had my hair out over top. And then that's how I'd come to the ring, and I had this trench coat that my buddy who did my tattoos airbrushed and stuff. And then, when the match started, I would take it off, and underneath my face was painted. I'd have black lines, almost like corpse paint, lined up and stuff. And then, yeah.
So there's no end to the terror.
No, it
just
wasn't.
Layers. Just peel layers of your face. You're like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, we kind of worked it into the story that when my tag partner left, I kind of reached a new level of just menacing, just what's the word I'm looking for? Dark, twisted. You
lost your mind.
I lost my mind. It started wreaking havoc on
deeper.
Me. Yep, I started cutting promos, like Bray Wyatt type promos almost, where really speaking in symbolic, symbolic point of view, and using a lot of weird, I would look up quotes in the Bible and twist them and turn them and stuff like that to do promos, just to be as evil as I could and as twisted as I could. But yeah, I started doing it was funny because my promoter would always get on me. I'd be like, hey dude, so we're in this match, can I just blade right here? And he's like, you always want to bleed. I was like, yeah, it adds to the match. So you'd always give me shit. He's like, so you want to blade, don't you? I'm like, yeah, sure. You don't have to give me the green light. I'll just do it now.
So you bled a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did a lot of bleeding. I have scars from barbed wire and stuff like that, and thumbtacks, light tubes, all that shit.
That's not my jam.
But yeah, it's I'd ask somebody hey, look, we could do this spot. I was like, you don't have to get hit with barbed wire, but let's do this spot and you can hit me with it. They're like, all right, cool. So yeah. So yeah, I wrestled for a while, almost 10 years around. And then about 10 years ago, 2010, 2011 is when I started dying down, settling down on the wrestling. My body started really hurting. And then my music started going. And I really wanted to concentrate on music because that was one of my first loves. And, and I could only go so far with wrestling. And as I wanted to do more, but at the same time, I didn't. I started seeing more of some of the politics back then too. It's not like it was now with everyone is in it to win it together.
Right.
Back then there was still some politics and stuff, and I saw some of that side of the business and stuff that really turned me off on it. Some, politicking to the promoter or this, or, shit talking, and, it's back then it was cutthroat too. So I was just I think I'm done. I never really had a last going away match, which sucks because I really want one, but when my music started pushing,
you never know.
Right. I mean, now I'm like, dude, I would like to get back into ring shape and like do a couple of matches and stuff, but I was like, I don't know if my body's gonna let me do that.
Right.
You know?
Where's the jacket? Where's the jacket?
Oh, the jacket, the trench coat? I still got it. I still got that. I got my boots. I got my singlet. I never wore I wore my singlet underneath everything, but I used to wear like cargo pants or something like that and a cut off like button up shirt or some shirt.
We got to get you one of those like the Marvel DC like the superheroes keep, like Batman keeps his suits in the little like
like in the glass case.
Yeah, in the glass case. Just have one of those.
Yeah.
Like in the room, and then people walk by your living room, they're like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah,
it was a time.
Yep. And yeah, let me just tell everybody, wrestling fucking hurts. It hurts bad. Well, especially when you first get into it. I've gotten punched, kicked, the wind knocked out of me, concussions. It's just, you name it, it's happened. So yeah, people throwing around the F word while some of it is choreographed and predetermined. The shit hurts, man. I've gotten hit with a chair, and dude, it took me like a week for everything to clear up. And I could take a chair like a champ. I could take a chair with the best of them, putting the arm up, blocking it and stuff, man. But man, I got hit in the head once, and that's all it took. Was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Still finished the match, mind you.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but I finished it. There's like a handful of matches I don't remember finishing, but yeah, I finished them. So.
Yeah. Every time I see these guys go, because I fancy myself athletic. I don't know if that's real or not. But when I watch these matches and watch this stuff, like I said, when I was in college, like those first couple years, especially when I got into it, where we would just fuck around in our living room, which doesn't count. But now, I mean, shit, I'm 40, but I see these dudes like do stuff, and I'm like, maybe if I stepped it up, but no, man. It's cool to watch and it's cool to fantasize like that I could actually do something for the first time as an old man, sort of. I'm not an old man, but in that world I am. But yeah, it is hard to watch people do stuff and perform and then not want to do that,
Yeah, it is. I got a couple bumps left in me, but who knows?
Yeah.
It's just. Yeah, I would jump at the opportunity to like do it again, have a couple matches and do it again. But it's just the reality of it you got to face. And
yeah.
So I remember. What's that?
Go ahead. You remember?
I was just gonna say I remember like one of my first, not the tag match. It was I think it was not the first tag match, the hardcore one. It was a different match. It was like either the match after that. We had a long match. It was like maybe 15 to 20 minutes. And like for us as a tag team, that's long. Like we were like Brock Lesnar of tag matches, like 5 and done, under 10 minutes I'm in. But we had a longer one. And I just remember like thinking like, Jesus Christ, how do you do this without water? Like I'm sitting, I'm like, God, I need a drink of water. And I remember going to my buddy Jake, and I'm working over one of our opponents in the corner. And I tag him in. I'm like, do you need to take over for me? I was like, I need water. I'm dying here. And the dude that I'm working over just started, he started laughing a little bit. So, but yeah, it sucks, man. Then like in my singles matches and stuff like that, yeah, like you get used to it. You hydrate before the match. Sometimes I would chew some gum during the match to have it, but yeah.
And I would start a gimmick where like something where you knew that you had to like drink water from the crowd, and just have hour-long matches where you're like perfectly hydrated instead of
I did that
mashing Aquafinas.
I stole water from the commentators a lot. Just take a swig and throw it at my opponent. Like, thank you. Little did they know though.
Gotta stay hydrated.
Right?
Yeah.
What were you gonna ask me? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut.
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Cool. Right on.
Whatever.
Sure.
Now I remember. How many gimmicks did you have? Do you have two? Do you have one?
Like two. I mean, if you're counting like the actual wrestling part of it and not my like backyarding stuff.
Yeah. I'm counting whatever you count.
Yeah, so I would just count like what I did in the actual ring and not like backyard stuff was 2, and it was just kind of like evolving of what I was before. Okay. So when I came in, like my name was Violence, my partner's name was Sick, so we were Sick and Violence Disaster Piece. So like that was like we were barroom brawlers, pretty much. Like we were kind of, messed in the head and like didn't give a shit. We're like road warriors. That's what we pretty much. We're like, this is who we kind of want to be like, is like the road warriors. Crossed with a little bit of powers of pain kind of thing. Like just no nonsense, beat the piss out of you. We're not technical. We just want to get in the ring and fight. And then when my buddy Jake moved, that's when I took my character. I was like, okay, now where do I want to go with this? Because I don't want to be the same guy, because I'm not.
Right.
So I thought about it, and I was like, I kind of want to go darker, want to go deeper, and kind of like Mick Foley was a huge inspiration for me, and Jake the Snake. So I took them two, and I was like, all right, how demented can I get, and like kind of get the screws loose, and like just watching a lot of Mick Foley, Cactus Jack stuff, a lot of Jake the Snake stuff, and that's how that came to be. And then the promoter's like, dude, you want to stick with your name? I'm like, yeah, but I want to add to it, and I want to be Violence the Living Nightmare. So that's where the Living Nightmare came into play. So I was not only living my own nightmare, I was living your nightmare too. So that's kind of like how the whole thing played off. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So those are my two characters, and I just got darker and darker with my Violence character until it was like just nonsense. Like I had no friends. I was neither a heel nor a face. I would partner with somebody, but at the same time, I could probably whoop their ass in the same match and just leave and not care. So it was like that. It was like just kind of Brian Pillman-ish, loose cannon. Like, you don't know what's going on in this dude's head. He's just screwed up. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I would like to say that's the end of the show. We're going to do the promos. Thanks for sharing everything, Bodi.
No problem.
At some point, I'm an interrupter, so I usually tell my stories whether people want to hear them or not, or whether you asked. I'll just start my story. So at this point, people know me pretty well. But tell everybody listening about any new music you got coming out, or anything, or any of the creative stuff that you're doing, other than the thing you and I are going to be doing.
Sure.
Don't talk about it.
I won't. Don't worry.
It's not time.
Yeah. Keep that under the rug, damn it.
It's under the rug. Close to the vest, and none of your business.
Lay it close to your cheeks.
Real close to your cheeks.
Real close.
Yeah.
Yeah. As everyone knows, you can just find me on Twitter, Instagram, Bruiser Bodi. Just search there. I'm on Facebook. You can see me there, Josh Bodi. You'll see me on the Juice Pro Wrestling site. I'm always posting memes, so got them fired dank ass memes I'm always dropping. If you're interested in my band, it's Sexual Atrocities. Just search it on Facebook, Sexual Atrocities, official Sexual Atrocities. I'm on there too. We were before all this happened, recording an album. We were going to hit the studio actually to record and track drums this Saturday, and unfortunately we can't because of this whole thing, and we are not finished with the album. We would have been done with everything because we were just on a tear, and we only had like a few songs left. But yeah, be on the lookout. We're coming out with a new CD soon, hopefully sooner rather than later. I'm also working on New Massacre Messiah that hopefully I'll have out. I'm home recording it too and everything, so I can get that out quick. So that's what I'm doing musically. Other than that, I'm just,
I know Racine Brewing had a family tragedy, but are they doing pickups? Like, can you buy beer if you're out in the Racine area? Can you?
Yeah, we had to take we took a 2-week close. I think we're reopening this Friday. I'm not positive on that if it's still happening. But yeah, we were doing curbside, so people would come to the door. It was locked. I'd go and open it. Everything was sanitized and safe. Masks, gloves. I go in and refill your growler or whatever you wanted. So yeah, we're doing curbside pickup and everything.
Yeah, Racine Brewing
company.
Racine Brewery, downtown Racine, which is not far from Milwaukee. If you're up in that area, go support small businesses.
Good beer,
good beer, good people. Yeah, man.
Yep.
And hopefully, when this clears up, and we can do another recording out there, or properly get shit faced. That's not responsible to say. We'll just go hang out sometime soon. Because when we did it last time, we had I think the 2 beers that I had, I hadn't drank any beer for a few months. I don't know if that's true or not. But I really, we had to keep it together because we had to drive back home.
Right.
So, but it was cool. It was cool. We were, and everybody was very gracious hosts. So, yeah. With that being said, You know how to listen and watch everything on Juice Pro Wrestling. Follow Juice on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, or don't. My Twitter is bullshit. I just keep retweeting stuff that you guys put on, and on occasion I'll put something in, and then nothing happens unless you guys retweet it.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to follow MarkBot 5000.
Oh yeah, MarkBot 5000. Yeah, newest addition to the team. As our characters keep piling up, we'll get better and better. So
Three Vinces will have a Twitter page soon.
Oh, Three Vinces. Yeah. And there might be some dispatches from heaven with some dearly departed wrestlers that we might be doing soon.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, but yeah. Congratulations to Justin and the new baby.
Congrats.
Thanks for being patient with us. Thanks, Bodi, for doing this and letting me interview you. Thanks for listening to me stutter for an hour. And I don't know. Do you want to give the
Yeah, why not? Remember, guys, hit the subscribe and like button on YouTube. We're at 1,000, so let's keep it trucking. Twitter at JPDUB, Juice Pro Wrestling Podcast, everywhere like that. Please follow Sreten. That guy's the man. He has a lot to say. So until next time, you know what to do, guys. We gotta wet 'em up. Wet 'em up. Wet 'em up. Wet 'em up.
I love that shit.
You gonna do sex to me?